Welcome to another Desert Sands Educational Foundation halftime show. I am Kevin Pillow, and welcome inside the Prep Sports Net studios here in Indio, California. And we are glad to be with you once again under those Friday night lights, wherever you may be on a very unique, very kind of calm Friday night where just a few games are underway. We will get to those things in just a moment. Again, I'm Kevin Pillow, the host of Prep Sports Net. You can tweet at us at PrepSports_net. And of course, please use DSEF, hashtag DSEF halftime for your tweets and comments over the next 20 or so minutes here on the Desert Sands Educational Foundation halftime show. If you want to get involved with the Desert Sands Educational Foundation, you can do so by texting to this number below, 760-338-2282, to get involved with the Desert Sands Educational Foundation. And of course, as always, you can tweet at our illustrious leader, the Director of Community Engagement and Educational Foundation and the Educational Foundation, Sean Webb, his Twitter handle at Desert Webber. To get more information. So once again, welcome to the Desert Sands Educational Foundation halftime show. Just a few seconds away from halftime for La Quinta and Bloomington. An absolute rout is underway right now on the road. La Quinta up big. This is not a typo, folks. We're going to show you a score. Look there on the bottom. The only typo is still says the first quarter. I'll change that right now. But it is in the second quarter. Matter of fact, I believe they are at the half in Bloomington, California, which is just about an hour and a half north, or about northwest from here. And it is not a typo, folks. That is a real score, 43-0 between La Quinta and Bloomington. Matter of fact, the headline from the Desert Sun: whoa, La Quinta having all kinds of fun at Bloomington, up 43-0 with just seconds to go. And that was about 8 minutes ago. And also getting an update for you right now. It is Cathedral City and Indio just before the half as well. The ticker there below. It is 22-0. Actually, Cathedral City at one point was trailing in this game. Indio drove down after going up 6-0 on the first play of the game. Indio fumbled the ball. Like Cat City picked it out of the air. It's a fumble up in the air. So it was almost like an interception fumble. I don't know. Anyways, ball goes up in the air. Cathedral City recovers it, takes it 48 yards to the end zone, goes up 6-0. Then Indio does exactly what Indio needs to do, and that is chip, chip, chip away, chip, chip. And that is march downfield, puts one in the end zone. Fabian Garcia with the touchdown pass, and they go up 7-6, surprising 7-6 lead. But since then, it has been all Cathedral City, a now 22-7 lead going in, closing in on the half. Matter of fact, the last touchdown, Indio was against their own, up against their own goal line, fumbled the ball in the end zone. Not something you want to do, and they go down 22-7 there at the half. Getting some comments in below. Hey, what's up? CoachellaValley.com. What is going on? The illustrious Craig Campbell out there somewhere, out there doing something that nobody else wants to do. And that is work out there amongst us on a Friday night. Work on a Friday night. Who wants to work on a Friday night? I do. And of course, Craig with CoachellaValley.com. What's up, guys? Watching on CV.com. Real quick, also, we talked about a kind of light evening this evening, as only, I believe, about 5 games were on the schedule for today. Now, Desert Mirage, as you see there below, Desert Mirage at 29 Palms, that game was canceled due, of course, to COVID protocols. In the bye week, Palm Desert at 4-1, Palm Springs at 3-1. Palm Springs, of course, fell victim to a COVID game. Rancho Mirage 4-0. They also, at one point had someone with their program test positive for COVID-19. Xavier Prep 2-2-1, and Shadow Hills at 5-0. 7 games have been affected here within the Coachella Valley and the the high desert Yucca and 29 Palms. 7 games affecting local schools have been canceled due to COVID-19 protocols within the confines of these new rules, so to speak. Now, let's add a little context to that. Now, a player, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, is players, coaches, and other team members of that team are tested at least once a week within Palm Springs Unified, Coachella Valley Unified, and Desert Sands Unified School Districts. That's what I understand. Now, Morongo Unified School District, they're tested twice a week. And from what I understand, 29 Palms tested positive. A person within their program tested positive last Wednesday. CoachellaValley.com out there in the black hole at Cathedral City. They got themselves a barn burner out there. So, of course, shout out to CoachellaValley.com. Give them a like. Give them a little subscription there on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook page. And follow them for updates throughout the evening. But from what I understand, a great article by Shad Powers for the Desert Sun. And, of course, my goodness, Andrew John of the Desert Sun last week talking about the different protocols. So Morongo is tested twice a week, and they had players test on, I believe, players and coaches. I can't specifically say players. Members of the team, I believe, were tested Wednesday and Thursday. Some coming back positive, then negative. Some coming negative, then positive. So that's what happened. And from what I understand, the rules are that they have to quarantine for 10 days, which could affect next week's game between Indio and 29 Palms. And from what I understand, too, again, thanks to Shad and Andrew for this, shedding some light on this whole, on all this rigmarole, so to speak, is that it's declared a no contest. We've gotten an answer that we've been asking the last couple of weeks. And so it's declared a no contest. So basically it's a wash. No loss, no win. It's a lost game. So right now, Desert Mirage, having been and shout out to James True watching from Chicago. What's up in the Windy City? Got some crazy sports out there going on right now. The White Sox in the midst of a push for the playoffs. Matter of fact, they're going to go to the American League Divisional Series for the first time in like almost a decade. But again, some clarity. It's not a loss. So like in the case of last week, La Quinta, who played Murrieta Mesa, or would have played Murrieta Mesa, wasn't a league game, but let's say that was. And La Quinta, who had to cancel the game, is that if La Quinta was the quote victim, and I use the term loosely, of a positive test, then they would have had to forfeit the game. That was my understanding. If it was a league game, they would have had to forfeit the game. That's not the case. It's declared no contest, and it's an advantage. No, it is advantage, disadvantage, but it is kind of a disadvantage still. It's almost a loss because you look at the standings right now in the DVL. You have Shadow Hills is 5-0. Now, according to MaxPreps.com, they have Rancho Mirage at 4-0, and we'll get you an update on some of the games here in just a moment. Get you some live up to date scores, and so they technically have Rancho Mirage at 4-0 in first place in the league. I would go Shadow. Now, granted, they haven't played league games in the Desert Empire League yet, but I have to give the edge to Shadow, 5-0. Rancho at 4-0. Palm Desert at 4-1. La Quinta at 3-1. So is Palm Springs. Remember, Palm Springs, I think it was the second week of the season. Week 1, I know you got to remember, week 0 is technically the first week of the season. It's just a tradition in the CIF. So Palm Springs fell victim, and Xavier 2-1. Tell you one thing, man, that tie, that's got to hurt right now. That tie is really going to come back, and could come back and bite them. But we'll wait and see. League play starts next week for the Desert Empire League. Take a look at the standings real quick. As we get the up-to-date scores, let's go to the live updates again. La Quinta 43-0. It's officially at the half. Coachella Valley 20, Banning 0. That is nearing halftime. Cathedral City 22, Indio 7. That game also has to be nearing halftime. Rob Greer, what's going on? Give a shout out. Rob, of course, longtime friend of mine, going back to the Shadow Hills days and Comic-Con. Got to give Rob a shout out. Yucca Valley 28, Desert Hot Springs 0. Got to talk about Desert Hot Springs last week. I said on this program 2 weeks ago, Desert Hot Springs Coachella could be a close-knit game. Could be a close game. It ended up not being the case, but Desert Hot Springs made it tight for a while there, and then Coachella Valley showed, hey, wake up, CV, we're the better team. But DHS is not a bad team. They are going to they're going to get that program turned around. This is a program that is always right on the cusp of breaking out. I can remember when I was still in school out here, not to make it about me, but when DHS, Desert Hot Springs, first started, they had an explosive program. Now, of course, they fall victim because you got to think about 20 years ago, the lines were different. All they had to do was split time with Palm Springs High School and Cathedral City, mostly Cathedral City. But now they've got to pull from Desert Hot. The Desert Hot Springs has to pull from the same pool of players as Cathedral City, as Palm Springs, and Rancho Mirage. And they have to fight kids that may want to choose to go to Xavier, which is a stone's throw down the I-10. Desert Christian Academy is nearing the half. It is 21-0 in favor of the Conquerors over Maranatha. And like we said, Desert Mirage at 29 Palms. Desert Mirage now, you talk about just the worst luck in the world. First off, we know every single year that the east end of the valley really struggles with football numbers, except for Coachella. But Desert Mirage hurt by numbers. Normal year. Then they're hurt by numbers because of COVID. A lot of players, a lot of students have not returned to campus. And then players just don't want to go out because of the possibility of getting the coronavirus. And then you take into consideration, because these players are playing so much, they're getting injured quicker. And then on top of that, Desert Mirage has now fallen victim twice to opponents testing positive for COVID-19. So right now, Desert Mirage sitting on only playing 8 out of 10 games. You can't sit there and tell me that that's not going to affect them. Take a look at the rankings right now after 1 week of league play in the Desert Valley League. Indio beat up on Desert Mirage last week. Big 53-0 victory. So they're 1-0 on the year, 1-3 overall. So 1-0 in league play, 1-3 on the year. Coachella, again, beat Desert Hot Springs. They're 1-0, 3-1 on the year. Yucca Valley also won last week. They're 2-1 on the year. Now, Yucca also has fallen victim to, I believe, one. I think that I thought it was 2, but I think only one. Only one canceled COVID game. Cathedral City 1-0. They're 4-0 on the year. So technically, overall standings, you have the Lions in first place in the Desert Valley League. Banning Broncos, 0-1 in league play, 0-4 on the year. 29 Palms, 0-1 in league, 2-1 on the year. Of course, they missed this week as well. Desert Hot Springs, 0-1, 1-3 on the year. Desert Mirage, 0-1, 0-3 overall in the year. Scary moment last week. Talked about Desert Hot Springs just for a moment. Scary moment for Desert Hot Springs last week. And that was that the bus carrying the Desert Hot Springs Golden Eagles football team lost its brakes and crashed. Nobody was hurt. Obviously, a lot of shaken nerves. But most important, no one hurt. Glad to hear that. And it was a rough night. First, you go all the way out to Coachella and lose, and then you're awakened from your post-game slumber to a crash. So glad to hear that everyone was fine. But just wanted to bring that bit of news too. Hey, if you guys have other bits of information that you want to share, if you want to give us some other, this is not just about football. I need information. If you guys want, please send us tweets again at prepsports_net. I'll give you that Twitter address. It's right there below if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook as well as Twitter. Of course, every single week you can follow us on the Desert Sands Educational Foundation Twitter account. There's the information below. Text DSEF to 760-338-2282. Desert Sands Educational Foundation Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channel. You can also find this on the Prep Sports Net Facebook page, as well as my personal YouTube account. And of course, CoachellaValley.com's Facebook account. So again, I want to send a special shout out right there. You see it below. See it right up there. There's the logo, CoachellaValley.com. Add that website to your bookmark. Go to their Facebook page, give them a like. You'll like what you see. There's always cool stuff coming up on CoachellaValley.com. Take one more look at the scoreboard. It is now official. Coachella Valley has gone to the half 20-0 against Banning. And should be any minute now that the Blackhawks go back to the field in their game. And again, don't forget Palm Desert, Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, Xavier, and Shadow Hills. Basically, the entire Desert Empire League out of action except for La Quinta. And it should be noted real quick. Take a look at the schedule. One of the toughest schedules coming up for any local team is got to be Palm Desert. Take a look at the schedule. I would throw it up on the screen here if I could. Next Friday, they open up league play against Palm Springs, the Mercury Bowl, for you old school fans out there. Then, this is not an error. Blackhawks, Aztecs, midseason. What? The flag game, midseason. And you've got a really good La Quinta team going up against a really good Palm Desert team. This could be a lot of fun to watch. Could be the best game of the year. And then the Kings of Cook Street. 3 straight rivalry games. This is like watching Notre Dame every single week. Okay? Palm Desert should be on national television. Put them on NBC. Okay? Because every week is a rivalry game. Unofficially, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, they used to call it the Mercury Bowl. It was played in week 0. They played for a trophy that looked like a thermostat. They don't technically play the rivalry game anymore, but it's still a rivalry game. But the big one is the next week. Flag game on the 7th, rather on the 8th, I apologize. And then on the 15th is against Xavier. Oh, by the way, if things continue to go the way they do, they would then play their 4th league game against a potentially undefeated Rancho Mirage team. And then close against Shadow Hills. Right now, hypothetically, Palm Desert has a brutal schedule for league play this year. And it all starts next week against Palm Springs. And we will be out in full force. I will be out at Ed White Stadium next week, potentially for homecoming for Indio High School. We don't know yet. We mentioned at the top of the broadcast that that Indio could fall victim to COVID protocols. Not that they tested positive. Also, want to send a shout out to Craig Keep. A special thanks out there to Craig. We mentioned at the top of the broadcast, 29 Palms tested positive this past week for COVID-19. Players or coaches, someone on the team tested positive. They have to quarantine for 10 days. No practice, which means they would be eligible to come back to play on the 1st. Actually, on the 2nd. Take that back. Which means if they play the game on Friday the 1st, game's canceled. Okay. Supposedly, 29 Palms is trying to work something out with Indio that the game could be moved to Saturday night. We will see, because the only thing that's affecting that COVID's affecting more than the players is also the officials. Officials have not come back. They're on a shortage of officials. So, anyways, one more check at the scoreboard as La Quinta is getting warmed up right now on the road against Bloomington. Take a look at the scoreboard one more time. Again, at the half, La Quinta 43, Bloomington 0. Coachella Valley 20, Banning 0. That game also at the half. Cathedral City 22, Indio 7. Late in the second quarter, knocking on the door at halftime. Yucca Valley 28, Desert Hot Springs 0. That game very near to halftime. Desert Christian 21, Maranatha 0. That game also very close to halftime. And of course, as we mentioned, 29 Palms and Desert Mirage, that game has been canceled. Again, right there, you see it on the bottom of the screen where I just removed it. Text DSEF to 760-338-2282 to donate to the Desert Sands Educational Foundation. And of course, a lot of programs could use your help. A lot of programs go underfunded or not funded at all because of budgetary concerns, but you can do so. You can help out by doing so by donating to the Desert Sands Educational Foundation. Every bit helps. And of course, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, I'm sure there are links in the description below for you to find out more information about the Desert Sands Educational Foundation. You are watching the Desert Sands Educational Foundation halftime show. I am Kevin Pillow. You can find me at Voice of Reason 23. I am the voice of the Rajas. I will be returning to the microphone next Friday night or next Saturday. We'll find out over the next 7 days. You could also follow the show at prepsports_net. And yeah, we are working on coming up with a Prep Sports Net live Saturday morning show. We are working on that. Something that possibly could be right around the corner. So be listening, be watching, be supportive. And again, I just want to thank so much to the entire board of directors for the Desert Sands Educational Foundation. Of course, most specifically, Sean Webb for his continued support. And we will see what happens. Again, want to say special thanks to CoachellaValley.com, Craig Campbell, and his entire team. It is official. Cathedral City and Indio now has gone to the half. So a little bit of a extended second quarter there, as we are now headed just north of 8:30 here in the Coachella Valley. Let's wrap things up one more time. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. As always, like and subscribe to Prep Sports Net, and we'll get you up to date on all the news and notes of the local Coachella Valley's high school sports landscape. And we'll do some live shows. We are working on some great things down the road beyond football. And we really look forward to your guys' involvement. I'm Kevin Pillow, again, the Voice of Reason 23 on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can just type that in, find me. Again, Prep Sportsnet, CoachellaValley.com, Desert Sands Educational Foundation. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful night, and please be safe out there. And as always, enjoy those Friday night lights. And we will see you next week.